Okay, so first update on mood reading. I finished the Kindle book that I started before starting this video. It was The Perils of Miss Caroline Dubrow. It's this cutie little murder mystery Regency book, and it's based off of Jane Austen novels, which is fun. It follows Jonathan Darcy, who is the son of Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet, and Miss Juliet Tilney. And I like binge read the three books that are out in the series, and it was really great. But I have now started Beartown. I'm only very briefly into it. I'm like 25 pages in, but I'm really enjoying it. I always forget how much I enjoy just classic like literature fiction, but I'm already kind of sucked in, only a couple pages in. I forget Frederick Bachman is really good. He's really good at writing interesting characters. I've only read Anxious People by him, which I did end up enjoying at the end. There was a part of it where it was just like a little too heavy for me, like surprisingly heavy. But once I got over that, it was a really great book. So I have very high hopes for this. There's 3 books in this series. It is about a small town that is not doing very well in, I presume, Sweden. It actually hasn't said, I just presume. And they have like a junior hockey team that is going to like the finals, and it's this big deal, and everybody in the town is like really excited. Like it's their pride and joy, this junior hockey team going back to the finals for the first time in like 20 years. And it follows so far like people on the team, like the kids. It follows adults who are part of it, like the general manager, the coaches, the president of it, that kind of thing. And then kids of the parents who are involved. I don't know. I'm only barely in it, but Frederick Bachman does a good job at writing characters and setting up the scene, so I'm excited to get more into this. I do hope that I will be able to pause in between this series. Also, I didn't mention there is apparently this like results with like a shooting. That's literally how this book starts. It says, get back to page 1. It says, late one evening towards the end of March, a teenager picked up a double-barrel shotgun, walked into the forest, put the gun to somebody else's forehead, and pulled the trigger. This is the story of how we got there. So I'm not sure if this is going to happen at the end of book 1. I presume it will. And maybe the other 2 books, like, try to figure out what happened, or I have no idea. But, yeah. That's all I know about this book. But I'm enjoying it, so I thought I'd give this a little update, because I'm not always the best at giving updates. But this is where we're starting. I'm also audiobooking something right now, Ink Blood Sister Scribe, because I have the physical copy of that book, and I have not been good about picking it up, so I thought audiobooking it would be the way to go, and I'm interested. I'm not, like, super far into it, so I'll update that at another time once I'm more into it. So, update number 2. Update on what happened Monday and what's happened so far Tuesday. So Monday, I didn't read a lot of Beartown. I read like 50 pages, but oh, am I invested. Oh, am I invested. I'm like tearing up over like junior league hockey, which is so funny to me. I also finished Ink Blood Sister Scribe on audio, which I briefly mentioned that I was doing, and I surprisingly really liked it. It was a great standalone fantasy. I might have thought it was slow if I was reading it, but it was like a great audiobook. And I'm now starting the Brothers Hawthorne audiobook because I'm going to the release event for The Grandest Game tomorrow, and I knew there were, like, this is a book with a lot of details. Like, it's all about these little details. So, I wanted it to be fresh in my mind. So that's where we're at now. I'm hoping I can get through a lot of Beartown today. I also have a book arriving today. I don't know if it's going to be home once I get there, but I'm kind of hopeful. But I'm also kind of not. I don't know. Because, like I said, tomorrow I'm going to the release event for The Grandest Game, and I don't want to be in the middle of a book. So we'll see how it goes. That's my rapid mini little update for yesterday and so far of today. I'll come back when I've made a bigger dent in Beartown. I'm like obsessed though. Like, Frederick Bachman just knows how to make you care. I care. I care so much about these like random characters. I got my hair done today. And when I was getting my hair done today, I was reading a lot of Beartown. I'm almost done. I have 40 pages left. I have 40 pages left, right, Mandy? 40 pages! Not a lot. I have 40 pages left, and I want to finish this book, but it's so hard to read. It's so hard to read. I went to bed last night after... Okay. Pause. What I read last night was so jarring in comparison to what I had read, like, thus far in this book. So much happened. So many emotions, so many feelings. It was a lot. It was a lot to read last night. And it took me like an extra 30 minutes to fall asleep because I was just thinking about this book and getting angry. And then I was reading this at the hair salon, and I was jumping back and forth between tearing up and wanting to punch a wall. And with only 40 pages left, I know I will finish this tonight because I must. I kind of want to Google something about this series just because I think it would make it so much easier to read. But I'll be strong for now. I don't know when I'll buy book 2 and 3, but I think I will continue with this series. But it's so hard. It's so hard. And it's not hard for the reasons Anxious People was hard for me, but anyways, it was a really eventful day. It was a really long day. I'm really tired, so I'm just trying to film this quickly. I got my hair done again and read this. It took like 5 hours to get my hair done. And then I went to the book event for Jennifer Lynn Barnes' new book. Boom, Grandest Game. My name's in here somewhere. So this is what I'll read next. But I am almost done with the audiobook for The Brothers Hawthorne, which is the book that came before this one. And I'm just audiobooking it so I don't forget stuff, because I definitely forgot a lot of stuff, especially in these books, because it's like puzzles and mysteries. There's so many little details that I think will probably be important that I've definitely forgotten. So I think I only have like an hour and a half left in the audiobook for that, and I'll definitely finish it on my way home tomorrow. So there was a lot going on today. I got through a huge chunk of my audiobook, probably got through 40% of it today, and I got through a big chunk of this. I'm almost done, and I will be done. And then, boom, The Grandest Game. So, that's my update. See you tomorrow. It's Saturday, so it's been a couple of days since I've given an update, and that means I have a lot of updates to make. So Wednesday I said I was going to finish Beartown, and I didn't. I only had like 30 more pages to read, and I didn't. I was so tired Wednesday night, but I finished it Thursday morning, and let me tell you, this book was great. It was very good. I will continue the series, although probably not right away. It did not end the way I expected it to, which is like obviously intentional. Anybody reading this book is gonna think it's gonna end a certain way, I guess, or like they think something's gonna happen and then it happens differently. And the rage I felt while reading this left me a little sad that it didn't end the way I thought it was going to, but I suppose it's all for the best, even though I think it will also lead to more rage that I will feel when reading this series. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like, and I don't know what to say without spoiling it. What I will say about this book, it is so great. Frederick Bachman just knows how to write really well developed and interesting characters, and he knows how to make you care about them. Like, they introduced a character named Ramona, and we had only gotten like 2 pages on her, and I was getting like teared up. I was like, I know nothing about this character, this fake person, but I'm tearing up. That's impressive to me. The only thing I'll say is that characters in this book, the kids in this book, are ages 15 to 17, yet they are like more wise and compassionate than, not all of them. Some of them are more wise and compassionate than some of the adults in this book. And I just don't know if that's the most realistic portrayal of 15 and 17-year-olds. I mean, I'm sure there are some wise and compassionate 15 and 17-year-olds, but there's a whole lot of them in this book, which I think is like great for the plot and everything, but at 25, I don't know if I could have showed the compassion that some of these characters did. What to say? I'm very glad I read this. I will like want to read more of Frederick Bachman. I think he's really, really great. Really great stuff. I don't think I'll watch this show though. Also, I don't know if I can with the English subtitles. I like to like listen to TV shows, so that's hard to do with English subtitles, but I definitely recommend this book. This is not necessarily a very happy book though, so take with that what you will. I was definitely surprised with what the plot of this book ended up being, or what some of the major plot points in this book ended up being. If you're somebody who's a little more sensitive to certain things, you might want to look up the trigger warnings. I don't want to say them just because a lot of the time trigger warnings are spoilers for the book. So just be mindful. In other news, I finally started The Grandest Game. I started this on Friday. I got like 60 pages in, and I read a chunk of it today. I am on page 226, and I'm having a good time. I just don't know if anything can compare to like the original series. It's hard. The original series is so good, and it's so near and dear to my heart. And when I went to the author event, she said she wanted to make this series and this book feel like reading the Inheritance games for the first time again. And I don't know if that is like achieved, because it's also just like a different format of story. They're in the Grandest Game. I was kind of surprised. It's not the first annual. It is the second annual Grandest Game. So one has already occurred. We don't know who won. We don't know what happened, but this is the second annual one. So it's like 3 years from book 1 of the Inheritance games. And I think it was actually a really smart decision, because now there's the whole mystery of like, oh, like, well, what happened with the first Grandest Game? I don't know how much information we're actually going to get from this book, because I'm like 60% through this book, and they are like not even a full day into the games. So I'm very interested to see how this goes and how this ends. I'm interested. I am enjoying it. I'm flying through it. You can't not fly through a Jennifer Lynn Barnes book. It's just not possible. I will say, I just wish we had Grayson's point of view, because I love Grayson. And sometimes I'm like, what is he thinking? Because he's the game master for this year's Grandest Games. You find that out super early on, so I don't think it's any sort of spoiler or anything. So he's the character from the original trilogy that has the most time in this book, and he's also my favorite. So I just want to know, what is he thinking? But I'll definitely finish this tomorrow, and then I'll have to wait a whole other year for more of that storyline at least. And in other news, I'm also almost done with First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I actually started audiobooking this. This is where I am in the physical copy. So I plan to, like, there's very little left. I plan on finishing this after The Grandest Game. I'm really enjoying First Lie Wins. I audiobooked Listen for the Lie a couple of weeks ago, and I really loved that book because it was a mystery. A lot of the times, at least in like the adult genre, I find it's hard to find pure mystery books. A lot of them are really thriller or like really dark, so it's nice to find good mystery books, and I feel like this is one of them too. I didn't realize when I bought this book, but I knew of this author already. This author wrote, oh God, now I can't remember the name of it. This Is Our Story. I'm pretty sure that's it. This Is Our Story, which is a YA mystery book, and it was actually on Jennifer Lynn Barnes's article of like recommended books for YA mysteries that Jennifer Lynn Barnes did for the New York Times. So I actually have Ashley's YA book, This Is Our Story, on my Kindle because Jennifer Lynn Barnes recommended it. And I like her writing. I like the way she has developed this story. There is a lot of like back and forth, but the concept, honestly, I think is super interesting. I'm just having a jolly good time with this. And I want to finish it. I want to know how this ends. I want to know. That's always like my problem with reading adult books. Like if it's a YA book, like I know it's gonna end happy, so like I'm not too stressed. But with adult books, you never know. You really never know. Also, I forgot to mention, because it's been so long since I gave an update, I finished the audiobook like reread I was doing of The Brothers Hawthorne in preparation for this book, and boy am I glad I did, because there's a lot that overlaps. A lot of information that's useful, because the characters in this book are the characters you meet in that book, and there was a lot of like small details that I'm sure, and even big details that I'm sure I would have forgotten or just not pieced together, so that was very useful for me, and I think I may have liked it more on my second go through of it, because the first time I read it, it was a little underwhelming. It was. The Brothers Hawthorne is just like something to bridge the gap between and help with this story arc. Mainly, I would say, of Grayson, it helped his story arc to where it needed to be for this series. But anyways, I've accomplished a lot in the past few days, but also not a lot. I had a really busy week this week. I chose a bad week to do this. It was surprisingly busy. I knew it would be kind of busy, but I didn't realize I'd be so tired from it, which led to less reading. Also this book I did not expect to be as hard to get through. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow when I have finished this book, and hopefully this one. Reached the end of mood reading for a week, and I got through a bit. I have the physical copy of Inkblood Sister Scribe, even though I did audiobook this. So let's start from the top. Actually, I finally decided to audiobook Inkblood Sister Scribe. As you can see, I have the physical copy of this book. I got this at minimum a year ago, and it interested me at the time, the premise of it. I think like the premise that all I knew of it was like the introduction, like the dad was found dead with like this book and a note, like a mysterious note, and that's all I remember knowing about this book when I got it. But I was like, that sounds interesting. There's two sisters. They figure out what's going on. But then I never actually felt compelled to pick it up. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna audiobook this. And I really ended up enjoying it. I don't know if I enjoyed it because I had low expectations. I don't know if I enjoyed it because I thought I wouldn't, but I really did. I found it to be like a very interesting book. I thought it was like pretty unique. There are not a lot of books that portray books in this way. I would say the only other book that I read that had a similar premise is oh my god, what is it called? A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. For some reason, all I could think about was An Enchantment of Ravens, which is a different book of the same authors. But I thought it was super interesting. I liked the characters in this. I liked the mystery of it because we didn't really know more than the characters did. I liked the way it played out. Yeah, I would totally recommend this book. I gave it a 3.75. And I don't really know what more to say about this book. There are two half-sisters that grew up together, and it was their job to protect these magical books. These books, it was kind of vague on what they could really do, but basically you could enchant these books to do different things. And those things could be like good or bad. So it was like their job. Their dad took on this job of protecting the books, and he kind of pushed this narrative onto their daughters. The youngest daughter really took this mission to heart to protect these books after her father was gone, while the other sister had to move around every single year. She could not stay in the same place for a year. She had to keep on moving and restarting her life. But overall it was a great time. I would definitely recommend the audiobook. I didn't really find it to be slow or anything. I had a great time with this guy. Then, as I was audiobooking that, I was also reading Beartown. Now, Beartown, where to begin on this book? This book made me feel many things. One of those things was anger, that's for sure. You're supposed to feel anger. I wasn't angry because it was a bad book. I was angry because it was a good book, to be honest. This is my second Frederick Bachman book. I do think I will continue on with the series, but I was not ready to jump back into book 2. I'm gonna need a breather on that, but I don't know if I would recommend this as like a first Frederick Bachman book. I think I would definitely recommend Anxious People over Beartown, at least for starting out. They are quite different. Anxious People has a lot more humor to it. This book, it's kind of missing it. It's a very heavy book, which I knew it was going to be heavy, but I thought it would be heavy in the same way Anxious People was, with there being some like kind of comedic relief and whatnot. There's not. Just anger and sadness mostly. But Frederick Bachman just does a great job about like making you care about these characters. Like they feel relatable. I don't know. He's just great. He's great at writing. He really is. Like I said, I will continue this series. I don't know when I will. But to me, personally, not quite bingeable. Not quite bingeable to me. I'm okay with temporarily ending things where this book ended. Yeah. but he writes some very compelling and moving characters, and I think that's what's best about his writing, and the way he makes them like relatable, where you can like understand most people's perspectives on things, and it does like a great social commentary. So 4 stars for Beartown. I have some words. Then I audiobooked The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I might have appreciated it more the second time around. This isn't it. It's on my shelf. But I think I appreciated The Brothers Hawthorne a little bit more the second time around. I still preferred Grayson's storyline over it, but I was glad that I was doing that before reading The Grandest Game, because I think I would have forgotten a lot. Now, The Grandest Games. This book was, now that I've thought about it a little bit more, it was just a little disappointing. It was a little disappointing in the sense that I just wanted more from this. It felt like we didn't really get a lot. It felt like we got like just the tiniest little bits of like 3 different stories, but we have no idea like how they come together, or anything like that. And although I understand how this book ends, like is just like a natural stopping point for book 1, I really wish it did it. I will say though, I liked all the point of views. I didn't find one point of view to be like dragging. I wasn't like, oh no, now we're back to like their point of view, which does tend to happen sometimes with multi-POV books. So at least there wasn't that. I'll definitely be continuing this series. I might wait to recommend it until more are out, if that makes sense. It just feels like we barely scratched the surface of like the actual story, and there was so much on the puzzles, and they were just like boom, 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 because it's like a competition. There are constantly puzzles and riddles and this and that, where it didn't feel like that was the case in the Inheritance games. It felt like things happened like a little bit more organically, instead of like, here's another puzzle, here's another puzzle. Not to say that this is a bad book, I just wanted more. But it's only book 1. So, this is a 3.75 for me. And then I audiobooked and physically finished First Lie Wins, and this was a fun book. I found this to be a great like adult mystery. I feel like normally it's hard, or at least hard for me, to find like a good adult mystery. They're always like adult thriller mysteries, but I feel like this was a solid mystery. There were lots of twists and turns. There were a lot of flashbacks, which I wasn't expecting, but I found the premise of this book to be super interesting. There's this woman, and what is her name in the town? Evie, right? Yes, Evie Porter. She is in town and she's on a mission. She has this Mark, and the Mark is her now boyfriend, and she's doing some kind of like recon mission, whether it's information, like something physical. She never really knows when she goes into the job. She just gets information as she goes by like this mysterious guy at the top, and she kind of just like does his bidding, and she's doing her job, moving into her boyfriend's house, who's her Mark, when all of a sudden this new girl comes to town. And the new girl's name is, I forgot, but somebody comes to town and they're using Evie Porter's like actual name. They're using her actual name, her like real identity. So that's when she knows something is not right. And I don't know, I thought it was like well thought out. There was like a little masterminding going on, and it was just a fun, good time. I had no complaints about this. This was a 4-star book, and I was happy about it because this is my first Ashley Elston book, but I actually have one of her books on my Kindle. When this book arrived, I was like, this name looks familiar. I'm glad to know I like her writing, and hopefully I'll dive into that book soon, since it is on my Kindle already. But overall, some pretty solid books. Nothing that was like really bad, nothing that was like a 5-star like amazing though, but I'm glad I got to a lot of these books. Like Ink Blood Sister Scribe, that's been on my like shelf for so long. Also, I didn't note it, but Emma Torres, I think is her name, right? Yeah, Emma Torres. This is her debut book, and it was so good, and I will be looking out for when they come out with more books, because I thought it was well written, it was interesting and unique, so hopefully you're persuaded to maybe read one of these. Let me know if you've read any of these or you want to. But overall, can't really ask for like a better mood reading week.